Parenting. Yes, this is a topic that I'm going to talk about today, but because parenting is such a wide subject, I just want to focus on parenting for families with special needs children, whether they are differently abled or they are medically challenged. This is sharing my own journey because I do have a special needs child. She has a medical as well as a developmental and intellectual developmental issue. So I want to share the issues and the challenges that we as parents of special needs face, and also things that we as parents of special needs look at in the stage of what's next. I hope that viewers of this presentation will benefit in two areas. If you are just a general public viewing this video, I hope that it will actually allow you to see the issues and challenges that face families with differently abled children, and therefore understand better what we as parents and as a family go through every day. And hopefully with that, with the knowledge, we can have a more inclusive community. For families who are already having special needs or differently abled children, I hope that by sharing my thoughts with all of you, it would give you insights on other areas that may or may not have come across your mind. I'm very, very sure as a parent, a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about are already part of what you are thinking or you are doing. But sometimes in the course of the day, depending on the age of the child, we may or may not think that beyond that is a necessity. For me, I always feel that beyond what we are doing today is still a necessity. We have to carry on to plan forward, because the child will outlive us for sure. And I just have my perspective of what we could do or what we could leave behind as a legacy for our child, besides just the monetary aspect of it. Now, if you like what you're seeing, please do comment below. And if you want any specific topics to be shared and discussed, then do put it also in the comments. If you want to know my journey or learn other tips and info that I have obtained through the course of my years in bringing up my daughter, and hear more about my stories, plus my sharings, and also in future sharings from experts, remember to subscribe to my channel and click notifications on. So now let's begin with the topic that we're talking about today: parenting issues for the special needs family. So the minute we know that our child is different, the first thing we have is stress. Stress because it's something new to us, it's something that we did not expect. And coupled with that, as in trying to cope with the newfound diagnosis or the newfound issue of our child, it kind of like disrupts our schedules. We don't know what to do next, we don't know how to go about balancing work and life, etc. And all these are challenges. It's a challenge not just for the parents alone, but for the people around the family, which could actually be the immediate family, and sometimes also it might involve the community. Because if you imagine that there is an autistic child, and this autistic child is living in a neighborhood, then sometimes the behavior of the child, to people who do not understand the situation, they might actually just think that, the parents are not doing anything, and it's so annoying, etc., etc. Once the child is diagnosed, it is undeniable that we will try to find resources and support to help bring our child to as normal as possible, or to rectify the problems that they have. And when this happens, then we're talking about financial issues. If both parents are working, then maybe the burden is less. But if just one parent is working, then it'll be a decision of who should now stay back and look after the child. And when they take this decision, it's again like, is this decision wise? Are we going to have enough financially to support the child? most of the case is actually the mother who makes that decision about whether they want to stay back or whether they want to carry on working. I know there are some fathers also who makes this decision, but the majority are the mothers. And if the mother, because of the financial circumstances, has no other choice but to carry on working, then the stress that the mother will have now with a child who is special is not just her entire life changes, but the family dynamics change. And she has a career, she has a job, and it's about balancing all these to make sure that they don't fall apart. And it's not easy because many times the issues that they face are not really understood. It's sometimes not even understood by your spouse because to do your job well, you might have to put in extra hours. And your husband might not understand why that extra hours is necessary and why are you not back home attending to the child who has more needs than you, etc., etc. So these are the initial challenges or issues that parents face the minute they know that their child is different. The next stage that we go in is our concerns. As the child grows older, and sometimes problems with children are noticeable at a very young age, and that's when all the previous issues comes in. But when the child seems to be growing normally, but when the child starts school, then you have feedback from the schools about the child being, not the same like other similar age growing children, etc. And with today's schooling system and parents' desire for the child to fare well in school, this becomes another concern, and they are under pressure. Autism is an issue where social development is a problem, and this, I think, there has been enough of education on autism for the public now to understand how an autistic person behaves. But then there are many other kinds of conditions where the child will still have a social and developmental issue, but they are not autistic. My daughter, for example, gives me a big headache for her social developmental issues. She has this mood thing, which we have never figured out, until today. We have to just accept that that's part of her. It's like, if she feels like shaking hands with you, she would do so. If she feels like responding to your how are you, she would do so. But otherwise, she would just ignore you and seem like another autistic child. When she likes you, she gives you eye contact, she talks to you. When she's not comfortable with you, she just ignores you. And she's not diagnosed with any particular label. Then, sometimes certain conditions that our child have causes us to become overprotective unknowingly. Again, back to myself. My daughter has uncontrolled epilepsy, which means that she can fall anytime. And because of that, I would avoid her doing a lot of things. I wouldn't even dare to attempt in fear that she might fall or she might hurt herself. So that is actually overprotection by me due to love. But then again, sometimes I also have habits of doing things for her at her younger age, just due to convenience, because if I were to leave her to do it on her own, it's either I have to repeat it many times, wasting a lot of time and energy to get what I need out of her, or it's just more convenient for me to do it for her. So as we do this, overprotection, or it's part of convenience, what I have learned is sometimes certain motor skills and developmental skills that our children are facing today is actually due to over-focus of helping them do things, either because we are afraid they will get hurt, we are afraid that people will, not accept them, or because it's faster for us to just get it done than asking them to do it. So what we have to understand is from that particular behavior that we have, we are actually not helping our child to be self-supporting or to be independent. Because my daughter, for example, She had a lot of things that she was not allowed to do, and therefore over the years she had very bad motor skills, and she really had a lot of things that she couldn't do. And when you look at it, it would be like, oh my God, she needs full-time care, etc. So then you would say, what happens when you are no longer there to do work for her, or when your maid is not there to do work for her? If your maid falls sick and she can't even cook a meal, what's going to happen? So we do need to think about that. Certain levels of self-support and independence has to be entrusted onto the child within safe grounds so that they can survive and they're not 100% dependent on somebody else unless the child is brain damaged and unable to learn or to do things on their own. Then we have this topic about siblings. For families where there is more than one child and there's only one or two child that who has got, a special needs, what do we do with the other child? I have two kids. My younger girl, Janet Lee, is the one who is giving me the challenges. But I have an elder girl, and she's perfectly normal, and she's establishing a career. Now, what do we want the sibling to do? How would the sibling feel in the course of us devoting our time to support our younger child? Will they feel missed out? Will they feel less loved? Are they going to take on the burden? Siblings' perception of the special needs subordinate can actually be affected on how we're managing the whole situation and balancing up our love relationship with the kids that we have. Having said so, and having gone far with my girl, I have to say that I cannot do it alone. Without support from family members, support from friends, support from society, we won't go far. So we should not be shy to talk to people about our issues. We have to tell them what's our problem, what are our concerns, and by doing that, it actually indirectly opens up opportunities for us. And only when we link opportunities back to the support or support back to the opportunities can we help our child more. So these are ongoing concerns that we would as a parent have once we know our child is special. But many cases when in my counseling practice, when I talk to parents, this is where it ends. Again, for me, I don't think this is where it should end. Even though your child may be still very young, not school going yet, maybe when they are not school going yet, the concerns could actually be very minimal because there's still a lot of hope that things would change. Some children really develop at a much later age, but I think once the child is at a teenage age, we should not stop here. We have to remember to work on what's next. Often as parents, we think that money is the first thing. And yes, I have to agree that money is one of the necessities, but it's just one of the necessities, okay? Even when we talk about that, as I speak to parents and even as myself, when I start doing my planning, it would be, how much is enough? Is there ever going to be such a thing called enough? And even if there seems to be enough money to support the child for the next 10 years, 20 years or whatever, then is how sure am I when I'm not around that the money would go towards my child's need, etc. So sometimes we don't have the answers and we have to speak to people who have the heart and who have the expertise to give us some insight on what can be done and also to kind of like do a health check for us in this particular area. But like I said, money is just one of the necessities. The child is a person, and as that person grows, they would long for self-worth, and the important part of it is also they need to understand the value of money. If they don't understand the value of money, we can give them a mountain of gold and they will still not have enough to survive. Every one of us lives with a purpose in life. Even if we don't have an ambition at our younger age, as we grow older, we start having ambitions. And so would a special needs child. We may not know it and they may not know it, but we have to help them develop a purpose in life. And rather than what do? Get up, they eat, they do their business, and then they idle time away. Is that how we want our child to be? No. Our child, again, if they are not brain damaged, they can be a contribution to society. And when they can contribute to society, this is very factual. When you are somebody who can do something, you are part of the family. When you are somebody there doing limited or unable to do anything for the family, you would become seen to be a burden. And burden should not be the word, even if you have a special needs in the family. So we went back to talk about money being essential, and I also mentioned that even if we leave them a mountain of gold, if they do not understand the importance of money or the meaning of money, do you think they would care how much they spend? Do you even think that they would be ambitious, or they would think like, oh, can I earn my own living? Can I buy this? Can I use somebody's money? I don't think so. So it's also necessary for us to make sure that our child, along the course of the journey that we have with them, is they understand the meaning of money, the value of money, and how difficult it is to earn money. When we are gone, okay, we don't even have to be gone, but even when we come to our old age and we are unable to support our child anymore, we need to make sure that this child of ours who is capable of doing something have some form of living independence. Yes, they may have a sibling. For those who have a sibling, it's a plus. But when the siblings were born, either before or after the child, I think one thing we need to remember is they were born not with a responsibility to look after the special needs sibling. If they do, that is what they feel they have to do. And obviously, we would need them to do some part of responsibility taking, because the brother or the sister is unable to do everything on their own. But we should give also as much power to our normal child to live a life of their own, to have their own dreams, to build their own career, and to have time for their family. We can only do this if our special needs child is somewhat independent. And these are things that we really should look at. Okay, I think many parents are having the issues that I have mentioned. They have the challenges and they actually look at the challenges, but most of the parents think that the first thing they need to do is to make enough money. When your child is a teenager, I sincerely hope that you look beyond financial security for the child and look into the other 2 points that I have shared with you here.